Hello, leader. Are you hiring? A lot of my clients are, and it's serious business to find the right people to join their team. I take this very seriously too. I've always had a pretty hard stance about hiring because I've seen it far too often, how one wrong new hire can be such a drain on everyone around them. My clients tell me all the time that they thought they hired the right person, only to find out that they weren't a fit at all. Why does this keep happening? Well, here's what I've seen after coaching hundreds of women as they grow their teams. Every candidate has two resumes. The first one is the shiny one that they hand you. The second is the secret one, the one that actually matters. It's full of clues about their habits, their values, and how they think. And if you don't find a way to read that resume before you make the job offer, you're setting yourself up for disappointment. Today, I'll share some client stories about how this secret resume impacted what they discovered after the new hire joined the team. And I'll give you some very specific interview questions to ask that will uncover the backstory of your candidates before you make that job offer. So let's dive in. And at the end of the episode, I'll tell you how to get another one of our popular free resources that's going to be a complement to everything we're talking about today. Welcome to the Stacking Your Team podcast, smart leadership for women who mean business. I'm Shelli Warren, your team and leadership coach, and your no-fluff guide to building a powerhouse team that actually gets the job done without you holding their hand every 5 minutes. You're not just a business owner, you're the leader now, and I'll help you step up, lead smart, and stop micromanaging. Stick with me and you'll learn how to hire, fire, and inspire a team you lead with confidence and finally get your night and weekends back. And here's the hard truth. The team that got you here may not be the team that gets you there. So let's trade burnout for bold leadership and stack your team. This episode is powered by the Leadership Lab, my high-touch, small group coaching program for women running an established business with a team of 5 or more. If you're tired of being pulled into every little thing and want more time for strategy, creativity, VIP clients, or even building a second business, you don't have to do it alone. It's time to stop feeling so exhausted by trying to hold it all together. The Leadership Lab helps you step out of the daily operations, build a capable team, and lead boldly without burning out. Apply today, and when you do, I'll personally read your application and reach out to you. I can't wait to hear your story. All right, let's get into it. It's a fact. In small business, you cannot afford hiring mistakes. Period. You don't have an HR department to clean it up. You don't have a training division to handhold people until they figure it out. And you absolutely don't have the luxury of time to give someone chance after chance after chance to grow up, mature, and suddenly develop character that they should have had walking in the door. You need to see signs of that maturity now, not 6 months from now, not after you've sunk thousands of dollars into payroll, trading, and cleaning up their mistakes. And let's be clear, you're not just hiring for skills. You're hiring someone's backstory, their habits, and their values. If those things don't line up with your culture, they will sabotage everything you've built. I want you to notice their attitude towards working, towards being expected to actually do what they're being paid to do. Notice how they respond to accountability. Notice how they handle working for you, a female boss. Because here's the truth. If they can't respect you, your business, or your clients from day one, they've got to go. In small business, every new hire either accelerates growth or drags it backwards. There's no middle ground. That's why this matters, because you're not just hiring a resume. You're hiring a person who will either protect what you've built or put it at risk. I feel the frustration of my clients when their recruiters take too big of a chance on an applicant and send them on over to my clients with their stamp of approval and best wishes, only for my clients to find out after hiring them that they were not a fit at all. Here's what else is frustrating to see. You often think that a resume tells the story of their capability, and the interview gets to their personality and uncovers evidence to back up the resume. You then take the very necessary step to check references. You're a fool if you don't. And then you make the job offer and hope for the best, actually feeling pretty darn positive about your decision. Doesn't that sound familiar? Sure it does. Employers have been hiring like this forever. But here's the clincher. A resume will tell you where they worked, what software they know, and what credentials they've collected along the way, but it won't tell you the story of how they'll actually show up at work and with your clients. Nope. That kind of information is tucked into the secret resume. And that second secret resume, well, it doesn't live on paper. It lives in their backstory. It's shaped by how they were raised, the values they were taught, the mentors who influenced them, or the lack of them. It shows up in whether they've ever really been held accountable, or if they've always been able to slip by. It even shows up in their birth order. Generally, the firstborns who naturally step into responsibility, or the youngest who leaned into charm instead of structure. Are they the kind of person who always raises their hand when things get tough, or are they the ones who slipped out the side door? Did they grow up in a home where showing up and following through was non-negotiable? Or in a home where accountability was optional because they had parents who covered for them or stepped in and smoothed everything over and pushed things out of the way, making things easy for them? Those are the clues that will tell you how someone will show up on your team. That's the secret resume. You need to learn to spot, because that's the one that predicts whether they'll support your culture or sabotage it. So first, let me walk you through some very real signs that your team member is not a good fit and you didn't discover their secret resume during the interview. These are actual people problems that I've worked through with my clients. First one, they lean towards disrespecting women in leadership roles. And here's what this can look like. Subtle eye rolling, dismissive comments, or visible discomfort when they're around a female leader. A client of mine in a large agency had a team member who consistently bypassed her instructions and instead sought validation from her male partner. Even after being told to follow her lead, he'd delay until the male partner repeated the same instructions. It was exhausting. She wasn't just leading her team, she was fighting for legitimacy in her own agency. Now, this matters because if they don't respect you, they won't respect your clients or your team either. And if someone leans towards disrespecting women in leadership, it won't stay subtle for long, and you don't have layers of hierarchy to buffer that behavior. It will go straight to your team culture. A culture is either strengthened by every hire or it's weakened. Here's the second thing to look for. They have unrealistic assumptions about what they're owed at work. Here are some real stories of what this can look like. They use phrases like, "That's not my job," or pushing back on being expected to do the basics. One of my clients had a team member who often asked, "Can't we get an intern for that?" One of my clients had a team member who took it upon themselves to change their role title on their email signature without asking. They simply thought they deserved a better, more important title and decided to take it, even though their performance was far, way far away from earning that title. Another client who owns a clinic had a new hire who immediately started asking about time off, flexible schedules, and raises before she even learned the patient intake process. The entitlement was clear. She wanted the perks of the role without demonstrating any commitment to the actual work. Now, this matters because uncovering entitlement up front will save you from weeks or months of drama, turnover, and lost confidence in your own leadership capabilities. You're going to start to doubt yourself. And in a small business, entitlement just isn't bad attitudes. It's a culture killer. You can't afford to let it in the door. Here's another problem. They have difficulty accepting feedback. And here's what this can look like. Lots of excuses, blaming others, or shutting down when they're corrected, or walking around in a huff. Some people will ghost you because they need time to process everything you told them. For other team members, every correction turns into a debate. Now, this matters because feedback is the daily fuel in a small team. If they can't take it, you'll be spending all of your time babysitting, not leading. Here's another one. They struggle to take responsibility. And here's what this can look like. Dodging deadlines, vague answers, or avoiding ownership of mistakes, and have a who cares attitude about how their lack of follow-through is impacting others on the team. Your team member may say things like, "I'm working on it," without giving you any specifics. Or they may shift the blame to coworkers, clients, or the system. When you confront them, they'll likely turn that feedback into an argument instead of acknowledging the actual problem. I've seen clients with team members who wait until others notice the problem before acting. It's low-lift behavior. It's passive. And everything is no big deal because they rely on teammates to jump in and save the day. When that happens, you are overpaying them because you're essentially paying twice for the same outcome. Now, this matters in small business because you don't have time to babysit or chase people down to get the work done or to get answers. If someone struggles to own their work, they'll erode your trust, drain your energy, and shift the weight of responsibility right back onto you. The one thing that you were trying to get off your plate by hiring them in the first place. And here's another one. Lack of initiative or common sense. And here's what this one can look like. They wait to be told every step, ignoring obvious problems, and it can show up as never asking, "Why do we do it this way?" or "How can I help?" So no curiosity about anything, just willing to do the bare minimum. A client of mine who runs a retail shop hired a sales associate who looked great on paper and interviewed really well. But once they got on the floor, they'd wait for explicit instructions on everything. If the shelves were empty, they'd stand there until they were told to restock them. If customers looked lost, they wouldn't approach them unless they were told to. The team started joking that this person was frozen in place. The truth was, it wasn't a training issue, it was lack of initiative. And the result? Other team members were constantly jumping in to cover for them, which slowed everybody down. And this matters because you need problem solvers, not passive placeholders. You need team members who have common sense to keep things moving when the unexpected happens. And how about this? Negative energy and cynicism. And here's what this can look like. Criticizing teammates and taking cheap shots instead of offering help. Gossiping and stirring up drama by creating a us versus them dynamic. It can also look like doing the bare minimum and honestly believing that that was good enough. One of my former clients who owns a marketing agency hired a team member who seemed competent but carried a heavy, cynical edge. In meetings, he'd roll his eyes at new ideas, make side comments about management not understanding, and constantly questioning decisions about offering alternatives. Within weeks, the rest of the team was quieter, less creative, and second-guessing themselves. The negativity just didn't stay with him. It bled over into the rest of the team. And this matters because having a bare minimum attitude forces your stronger team members to carry more weight, risking their burnout and turnover of your best performing team members. It also matters because one person's negativity can drown out the energy of an entire team. Cynicism just doesn't live in the corners. it spreads. And how about this one? Drops the ball on the simple stuff. And here's what this can look like. Chronic lateness and seemingly not thinking it was that big of a deal. Forgetting details, forgetting that they said they'd do something, frequent typos, causing rework because they don't notice their own mistakes, and having to have someone else double check their work. One of my clients, who runs a large law firm, hired a legal assistant who was smart and personable, but the basics were always off. She was late almost every morning. Emails were riddled with typos, and she'd forgot to attach documents all the time. Now, none of these mistakes were catastrophic on their own, but together they created a constant ripple of frustration. Other lawyers had to double check her work. Clients lost confidence and deadlines got tighter because everyone was cleaning up behind her. Eventually, my client realized the problem wasn't her skills, it was her inability to manage herself. So those executive functioning skills were definitely lacking. Look, if they can't get the basics right, like showing up on time, communicating clearly, catching the details, how can you possibly trust them with bigger responsibilities? In small business, the basics are not negotiable. They're the foundation. So, as I promised, here are 4 interview questions that can help you uncover someone's secret resume. The backstory. How they answer will tell you how they'll actually behave when the pressure's on in your business. Because remember, you can train someone on your standards and your systems, but you can't train attitude, values, and character. Here's the first question. It's a great one to find out if they've ever truly been held responsible. Here we go. Tell me about a time when you were held accountable for a mistake or a missed deadline. What happened and what did you do next? Here's question number 2. It's a great one to find out where their sense of right and wrong really comes from. What's the value that you try to live by at work and who taught you that? Here's the third question. It's a great one to find out who shaped their view on leadership, resilience, or even growth. Can you tell me about a piece of feedback or advice from a mentor or a coach, or maybe even a former boss that stuck with you? And then how did you apply it? And then the fourth one is a great question to find out what early rules shaped their natural work style. Here it is. When a group project at school or sports team effort starts to go off the rails, what's your natural instinct? Do you step up, mediate, or adapt? Let's recap. Resumes don't tell the whole story. The real truth lies in what I like to call the secret resume, the habits, values, and experiences that shape how someone shows up at work. And when you see the red flags, such as entitlement, defensiveness, dodging accountability, slipping on the basics, don't ignore them. Don't explain them away. In small business, missteps don't get hidden. They get amplified. You don't have an HR department to clean it all up, or a training team to hold someone's hand until they grow up. You need people who are ready now, people who respect your leadership, take ownership, and lean into the culture that you work so hard to build. And here's the truth. Every new hire either strengthens your culture or sabotages it. There's no middle ground. And as promised, here is one of our most popular free resources that you can get from the Stacking Your Team website. It's called Proceed with Caution. Tips to identify red flags in your role applications. Now, you're going to use this tip sheet after every interview that you host, and you're going to take a moment to reflect on what you saw, how you feel, and what red flags were waving right in front of you, in addition to the 4 interview questions that I share with you today. Get over there and get yours at stackingyourteam.com/resources. And you might want to scroll back a bit into your podcast player to episode 380. That's 380. Interview questions that make liars squirm and leaders shine. Those interview questions will uncover a lot about your candidate's character and level of integrity, and a few strategies to add some trust tests early into your onboarding process. Thanks for tuning in to the Stacking Your Team podcast, Smart Leadership for Women Who Mean Business. If today's episode helped you see your leadership in a new way, I'd love to hear about it. Come connect with me on Instagram, where I'm at Stacking Your Team, and tell me what's troubling you about your team right now. And one last reminder that you can apply to join the Leadership Lab from the Stacking Your Team website. We're welcoming new members right now. It's time to stop getting pulled into daily operations and start leading at a higher level. Imagine breathing easier, trusting your team to deliver, and finally having more time for your highest valued work. I can't wait to meet you.